since you've been away.
Welcome everyone, my name's Kate Morgan. I'm an authorised celebrant and I'm absolutely honoured and thrilled to be a part of things here today and help everyone to remember this wonderful man. So together with the team at Tomorrow Funerals, I'd like to welcome you all here today. On behalf of Hans' wife Jill, I'd like to welcome you all here to honour and remember the life of Hans Sue. Jill with her family would like to offer their gratitude to all of you for the support you've offered, for the meals, the flowers, and your stories and friendship and love. After today's ceremony, you're invited to stay for a drink and something to eat and to share your memories of Hans. In fact, I understand we have some amazing contributions here today from many of you. So it would be lovely to come together and share some of the foods and drinks and experiences that Hans himself loved. It's wonderful to see you all here. You're here to farewell Hans, a loving husband, a son, a brother, and a friend. But you're also here to lend support to family and friends on days when family and friendship are so very important. Although Hans was unwell for some time, his passing at such a young age will come as gut-wrenchingly difficult for so many of you. Hans's body was cremated recently, so today is about celebrating his life and the love and friendship that he shared with all of you. Together with his family, we've prepared Hans's life story, which I'll read to you first, and after that we're going to hear some tributes from the people who knew him best. Hans Sue was born in Box Hill on the 27th of March 1993 to parents Gwaith and Jan. He was the elder brothers are Dan and Ali. The family moved to Hampton Park when Hans was quite young, and this is where Hans grew up. It is well known that Hans was a foodie. He's always loved food from a young age and loved to try different types of cooking. Back then, Gwaith, his mum, worked as a kitchen hand at the local restaurant Food Star, and Hans just loved going into work with her for the promise of ice cream on tap. Both growing up and into their adult years, Ali and Hans were always close. They had similar interests, the same values, and in recent years, Ali and Lynette have been a big part of Hans and Jill's lives. At around the age of 5, Hans set off to Rivergum Primary School. His favourite thing about school were always the ball games. And it seems that as an adult, not much changed, except for the fact that the games moved online. Yes, Hans had fond memories of recess and lunchtimes at Rivergum. He excelled at foursquare and kickball. He loved this carefree, relaxed time in his life for engaging with friends, and it seems that Hans was well liked by his peers. After primary school, Hans attended Hampton Park Secondary. Once again, the thing he spoke about most were the sporting and leisure activities. He was good at basketball and playing many other sports. Whilst on one hand Hans was introverted, he was also quite social, especially when he found people who were interested in the same things as him. Hans was certainly popular on MSN back in the day. He loved chatting to his friends online. In 2011, Hans enrolled at Monash University to study accounting. And at uni, he enjoyed playing pool and hanging out in the rec room, and on the side, he studied. Graduating in 2015. More recently, Hans obtained his CPA to practice as a certified public accountant, an achievement he was very proud of. Hans's first job in the industry was at a company called Speros, and the role certainly proved to be a bit of a challenge. He'd taken over from a maternity leave with little support. But he believed that this experience taught him the value of hard work and perseverance. Hans became a great employee, and certainly his colleagues always spoke of him highly. Back before he worked as an accountant, Hans did part-time jobs like most of us do to support himself during his studies. The first job was at a local KFC, where he'd give his friends an extra piece of chicken whenever he could. And the second was a job that would change his life forever. One day, in 2013, Hans walked into the Seasons Chinese restaurant in Berwick. And the gorgeous young Jill Malone remembers the moment clearly. Jill had been working at the restaurant for a little while herself, and remembers noticing that Hans was very tall and just a little bit awkward. He walked up to her and introduced himself, wanting to shake her hand. Unfortunately, Jill's hands were working, packing prawn crackers, and thus just a little bit oily. Yes, she said, though it was all a bit uncomfortable, he was quite charming. Despite this, the two quickly became friends, working together for around 6 months, becoming closer and closer until Jill had to admit her feelings for Hans were strong. Around 8.5 years later, on Wednesday, the 17th of November, 2021, a year ago, Jill and Hans were married in a beautiful ceremony in the Yarra Valley, surrounded by many of you, their closest family and friends. And on his wedding day, Hans wrote beautiful personal vows. And here is a part of what he said that day. Jill, you know me better than anyone else in the world, and you can bring out a side of me that no one else can. You're everything I wanted in a soulmate, and I don't know what I did to deserve you. I know I can trust you with anything in this world, and I also know I can always count on you too. Throughout his life, Hans was very well liked. At work, at school, among friends, Hans was the one who would bring his friends together, remembering birthdays and booking everything, from barbecues to accommodation for a weekend away. Friendship and community were obviously very important to him. To Hans, at least a part of his social life was conducted online in his gaming world, which he loved. He treated it almost like a sport, and Jill used to make fun of the way he would practice, just like any other athlete. Hans was a devoted father to all his furry pets who, let's be honest, were thrust upon him by his wife, Jill, a passionate animal lover. One rabbit became 3, and then there was Drea, their beautiful multi-shih tzu, his 4-legged love child. Jill said that in the end it was Drea and Hans against the world. They had a very special relationship. And more recently, Lily, the golden retriever, was added to their ever-growing family. In July 2021, among Melbourne's lockdowns, Hans was diagnosed with bowel cancer. This changed everything for Hans and Jill. Their life became centred around chemotherapy treatments, scans, surgeries. Initially, the outlook was promising in terms of cure. However, in January, they were delivered the devastating news that Hans's illness was terminal. Hans died fighting his disease. Despite the traumatising treatments he'd endured already, he did seek out some specialist surgery in Sydney. He was brave to the end. He was loved to the end. And he will never be forgotten. But there is another chapter to this story, one which was preceded by a very difficult decision for Hans and an easy one for Jill. Jill wanted to bring Hans's baby into the world, was something they had dreamed of for a long time. And now for Jill, it would be some way for her to control her future in a positive way after so many things had been taken away. It was a way to keep a part of Hans with her always, a place to channel all her love. As mentioned, this was initially difficult for Hans to comprehend. He was a very practical person. He was concerned about how things would be for Jill, finances, raising a child on her own. But Jill was adamant she wanted to have his baby. A few months later, in July this year, Jill announced she was pregnant. Hans was happy and excited, but also, of course, naturally, this was a bittersweet moment. Jill and Hans's much-loved baby is expected on the 28th of March 2023, the day after Hans's birthday. A part of Hans will live on in their baby girl. Hans was greatly loved and will be terribly missed. His legacy is in his family, Jill and his baby daughter. So to all of you, for their sake, remember to always speak about Hans. Don't try to make things easier by not mentioning him. This is not easy. Not for you, and certainly not for Jill. Death in our culture is a kind of taboo, something we find very, very hard to talk about. Sometimes we think, I won't say anything, I won't upset Jill. But one thing is for sure, Hans is already always on Jill's mind. She's already upset, terribly, awfully sad. But talking about Hans is still a joyful part of her life. And it will always be, and it will also be for their baby girl. As hard as it might feel, it's important to keep Hans at the forefront of your minds and also of your words. This is one way that you can honour your friend and family member. To honour his memory and pass on his stories. And in that way, you keep a part of him alive. So that's it from me. We will now hear from the people who knew Hans best, his family and friends, who would like to share some of their personal tributes. To begin, I'd like to welcome Ali.
Thank you, Kate, for sharing the life story of Hans. It was very beautiful and well-spoken. Hi everyone, good morning. I'm Ali. For those that don't know me, I'm Hans' brother. First of all, I'd like to just thank you all for coming today. I wish we could have gathered under different circumstances, but here we are to honour the memories of Hans and to remember him for the kind, funny, and humble person that he was. Exactly 1 year ago from today, Hans and Jill achieved the milestone together by tying the knot and getting married. It felt like yesterday that I was scrambling to put together a speech to wish them all the happiness in the world. For many years to come, despite knowing Hans had stage 4 cancer, I was still hopeful that he wouldn't succumb to this disease, at least not this soon. Who knew that exactly 1 year from their wedding day that we would be gathered here paying tribute to Hans at his memorial? It is definitely a day that's come way too soon. There are several quotes that resonate strongly to the current circumstances. Life isn't always fair. Life is short. The good ones start young. These sayings are so true, especially for Hans. The national screening age for bowel cancer is 50 years old, which is almost twice his age. Statistically speaking, Hans was one of the unlucky ones, but they say some souls are too beautiful for this world, so that's why they end up leaving sooner. I think everyone here knows about the circle of life and how death plays a part of that cycle. It's one of those things that we know we'd have to confront one day, but I guess you can never really prepare yourself for losing someone you hold dear to your heart. I've lost a brother and a friend, and the world has lost a kind and gentle soul. It has been extremely difficult for all of us, and a sadness I never could have imagined, and it doesn't seem to get any easier as the days go by. He has touched the lives of many, and will be missed by many. He used to be everywhere around us, and now suddenly he is gone forever. He has left us with an unbearable void. But as I look into the crowd of people mourning of him, I find comfort in knowing that all of you love my brother. I am glad that he touched your life and that you also touched his heart at some point in his life. I find happiness in knowing that he will live on in all of your memories. I can never deny the pain that I carry, but I would like us to remember him as a blessing and a lesson, especially about young onset bowel cancer, and that it really doesn't discriminate about age. I want to treasure the life he shared with us over the pain that his death has brought us, and assure us that that is what he would want. And my world truly never will be the same without you. I will miss you every day for the rest of my life, and I feel so lucky to have had you as my brother. I'm going to miss the fact that I could always count on you for everything, and you always supported me without questioning my rebellious days while we were growing up. You were my partner in crime. In our teenage years, when I snuck out of the house at night and came back at 4 a.m. in the mornings, I could always count on you to open a latch from the inside of the house to let me back in quietly, without our parents ever finding out. I'm going to really miss our chats and hearing your voice. Who's going to tell me about the latest anime to watch? Or recommend random snacks to eat? Who's going to make those quirky remarks that make me laugh with you, or mostly laugh at you? When I look around the house, there are so many things that remind me of you. Things that didn't even have anything to do with you now reminds me of you. Every time I look in the mirror, I'm reminded of you. When we were young and you hit my right eyebrow with a hammer. I didn't appreciate it at the time. But now I carry this scar proudly as a reminder that a part of you is always with me. You can see that. There. Lynette and I always appreciated having you around as well. You never had to say or do anything, but just your presence was a strong support that spoke more than words. Harvey misses Uncle Hans a lot too. He tears up from time to time when we talk about you, and he always remembers the bandage you put on for him to fix up his boo-boo. I think most of us really want to know, where are you now, and what have you been up to? Are you watching over us? I hope that your new journey has been smooth sailing, and you find eternal peace, Hans. You will live on forever in our hearts. Thank you for listening to me. And thank you everyone for coming out to all my hands today.
Everyone, first of all, thank you again for coming here today. For those who don't know, my name is Nicole, and I'm Jill's close cousin, who is truly like a sister to me. And Jill first introduced Hans to the family almost 10 years ago now. And whilst I didn't know the impact that Hans would have on our family back then, he slowly became like an older brother to me throughout the years. And most of all, he became someone who was truly family to me. So today, I'd like to do my best in sharing and honouring the best of Hans, who is one of the greatest people that I've had the privilege of knowing. Hans was not only brave in the face of his cancer journey, but was someone who was also always humble, caring, genuinely kind-hearted, and whilst Jill never liked to admit in front of him, was someone who was effortlessly funny with some of his dad jokes. I have fond memories of him and Jill taking me out on many spontaneous food outings straight after high school, which eventually turned into me calling them Mum and Dad during these outings, as an inside joke of them being my second parents. Although it was just a joke, Hans was genuinely someone that I could still turn to for guidance with anything random, especially on where to get the best deals and discounts. Being a major foodie, Hans was also someone who you could bond over food and bubble tea with. We've had our fair exchanges of bubble tea shouts throughout the years, and this is just another small thing that I'll miss about him. I'll also miss seeing his excitement over the abundance of filler food during our family parties, which he never failed to at least try and taste everything. During these family gatherings, if he wasn't busy finishing his plate of food, you'd probably see him on the couch, surrounded by the family fur babies, Drea, and my own dog, Button. He loved him just as much as the whole family did, and if not more. I know I can speak for our whole family on this, including all of our family around the world. But since day one, Hans could easily fit right in and got along with everyone due to his down-to-earth nature. From all the uncles and aunties, to the little cousins, myself, and my brother Reed, Hans touched our lives more than we ever thought he could, and this is mostly just because of who he is as a person. I've said it once before, and I'll say it again, but Hans truly had a special way of getting others to love and adore him with the truly beautiful soul that he had. This time last year, I was sharing the same words at Jill and Hans's wedding. And as painful as it is to be sharing another speech about such a wonderful and caring person who has truly touched the lives of so many, as can be seen with all of you today, I truly stand by those words. As the world continues to turn, I hope to continue honouring Hans through the memories that we've had the privilege of sharing with him, and everything else that he has left with us. To Hans, thank you so much for everything. I'll never forget you and everything that you've told me, and your memory will live forever in our hearts. Thank you all for listening.
Thanks everyone for your presence here today. It warms my heart to see so many of you here and show up for Hans. They say that knowing a person is like music. What initially attracts us to them is their melody. And as we get to know the person a little bit better, we learn about their lyrics and discover who they are as a person and what makes them so extraordinarily unique. My earliest memory of Hans was when we first met in 2000. I had recently moved schools, and being the new Asian kid, found it quite difficult to make friends amongst my peers. I met Hans at basketball court. I found that we had quite a bit in common. We had the same shaped eyes, and both liked Dragon Ball Z. So I decided to get to know him. When we first embark on a new friendship and get to know a person, we create a special place in our mind and heart that wasn't previously there before. In that newly reserved space, you place your entire friendship there, store all the laughs you've shared, milestones and achievements you've accomplished together, as well as all their hopes and dreams. This special space continues to grow as you get to know each other. It compounds each year for the entirety of the friendship. When that person is taken away from you, especially well before their time, our hearts ache because it seems as though that space is gone too. I'm here to tell you that that isn't true. That space remains present for me today because I still remember him. And I will continue to remember Hans and everything that made him the uniquely positive individual that we've all come to know and love. If lyrics are what make up a song, then in contrast, a person's qualities is what makes up their character. And when I think of Hans, I can think of 3 distinct qualities that I love most about him. And they all just happen to start with the letter S. Number 1, supportive. Hans and I both have many shared interests, some of which included online gaming, fishing, lifting weights, speculative investments on the Australian Stock Exchange, gambling in the form of playing poker, watching the UFC, gambling in the form of betting against UFC fighters, and occasionally buying the Powerball whenever there was a huge jackpot in hopes of winning so that we could both offset our losses from gambling. Hans and I watched the UFC religiously every Sunday. He loved watching the UFC so much that his liquor of choice on his wedding day was none other than Conor McGregor's proper number 12 Irish whiskey. I've purchased a bottle here today to share with everyone. So if anyone wants to join me in taking a shot later in Hans' honor, please come and see me. Each week, we would make bets amongst each other on which fighter would win the title fight. We would pick our fighters and place bets, usually anywhere between $30 to $50. In the last 5 major UFC title fights, I have lost every single one of these bets that I've made with Hans. I was already on a losing streak and continued to head towards a downwards trajectory. So being the very supportive friend that Hans is, he left me a message, and I quote him saying, "Sheesh, Matt's been on a losing streak and he's been losing lots of money lately. Just putting this here for you, man." He then proceeds to post a link to the gamblershelp.com address. I've yet to still click on the link as I refuse to admit that I potentially had a gambling problem. And I attribute Hans' successful wins to him just being an extremely lucky guy. Every new job interview, successful hire, smallest pay rise, or simply just the end of the working week was enough of a reason for Hans to celebrate. Hans has always been very supportive of his friends and is the type of person to celebrate not only the big wins in life, but also the small wins, even if they weren't his own. He'd always be the first to wish each of us a happy birthday each year. Number 2, his sense of humour. This wouldn't be a proper tribute speech if I didn't accurately describe Hans' unique sense of humour. Hans and I had a lot of fun banter over the years. We've said countless of childish jokes to one another. Hans has an innate ability in delivering the most inappropriate jokes at the most appropriate times. One of those times was when we were both training together in the gym doing dumbbell presses. I had just finished spotting Hans after he had finished a heavy set. It was now my turn, so I grabbed the same set of dumbbells and started pressing. I was on my last couple of reps and started to fatigue, and I could feel my arms giving in. Instead of spotting me, Hans leaned over quietly and whispered into my ear, "Are you a little bitch?" In that moment, my arms were weak and I couldn't help but immediately drop the weights and burst out laughing because it was just so completely unexpected and out of the blue. Little did I know that those 5 words would become almost a source of motivation for me. It would get me every single time to do things that I initially didn't feel like doing. Like if I felt lazy and didn't want to go to the gym, all Hans had to do was say those words. And yes, he did say those same words every time we made a bet. Hans was also a master of Photoshop and creating memes. If you visit his Instagram page, you will surely come across a number of ridiculous Photoshop edits. I'm quite certain he has a folder of me on his hard drive of all the memes he's created. As long as Hans made them and the jokes were at my expense and made the rest of the group laugh, I encouraged him to continue making them. Number 3, selflessness. Hans is no doubt one of the most selfless, kind-hearted, loving souls that I've ever encountered in this lifetime. He gives more than he takes and has always put others' needs before his own. Hans was essentially the glue that brought everyone within the group together. He always suggests places for the group to visit during the summer and activities that everyone would be able to do. During our group trips, He would always voluntarily wake up early before everyone else to prepare the barbecue to cook breakfast for us. One of Hans' most selfless acts that I'll forever remember was when he initially told me about his diagnosis. One of his first thoughts was to encourage myself and the rest of the boys to book in a colonoscopy because he didn't want any of us to experience what he was going through. Hans had such a huge impact in my life. I can wholeheartedly say that I wouldn't be in my chosen profession and industry that I'm in today had I not found a friend in Hans. Thank you, Hans, for everything. You've forever continued to be a positive light and influence on me. I know deep down that if Hans was able to say a few words here today, we want all of us to continue to live life to the fullest. To not take even the smallest things for granted, and to treat everyone with kindness. On that note, I'd like to end with a quote from a famous philosopher that I hope will inspire everyone to think deeply about how we can live life to the absolute fullest. We have two lives, and the second begins when we realize we only have one. I'll see you again one day, Hans. Rest up. Love you, brother.
And now Jill will speak.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for taking the time to come today to remember Hans and celebrate the life that he lived, along with myself and both of our families. And hello, for those who haven't met yet, I'm Jill, Hans's wife. Hopefully you heard from me from Hans himself, and hopefully only good things. As already mentioned, last year, November 17th, 2021, I had the pleasure of marrying the love of my life, Hans. I never would have imagined that I'd be standing here today, only a year later, as his widow, and telling you about this gentle and wonderful man whom I shared my life with for the last decade. First as a work colleague, then as a friend, then as a friend, then his girlfriend, his fiancée, and finally as his wife, and soon enough, the mother of his child. I thought long and hard over the last few days about what I wanted to share and celebrate about him. And there's just so many things, so many good things. Hans and I managed to talk a lot about the worst outcome of his cancer in small, bite-sized conversations that we could manage. We talked about what would happen when he dies, and we talked about his memorial, physically. We got through via our morbid humour. We joked that when people die, only good things are ever said about them, just because they died. But in his case, there are truly only good things that can be said about him, and I think we can all agree on that one. Over the last 10 years of knowing him, he gave me the opportunity of feeling truly understood, deeply supported, and very much loved. And those are things that I will carry in my heart always. Even in his last moments, he left no room to worry about himself, and instead worried about me and how I managed to keep going. He asked me if I'd be okay, like I was the one who was dying. But I guess he knew that in that moment, that in different ways, I was too. Our relationship has always been grounded by honesty and openness. So I told him that no, things wouldn't be okay, and they wouldn't be okay for a long time. Because why would it? Because losing him will alter a lot of things in a lot of people's worlds. told him that eventually things will be a little bit better. And calmly as he would, in the chaos of his cancer and in the face of his own mortality, he nodded and just said, okay. So if I were to be told before meeting Hans that we'd spend a final year together fighting cancer with all that we've got, then eventually having to decide that it had taken too much from us, from his body and his mind, I would still choose him over anyone else. The only thing I would change would be for me to be a better person for him, because he deserved no less. I realised in those really difficult moments what a truly privileged and lucky person I have been to be the love of his life. I'm so grateful for every second we had in each other's presence, and will forever mourn the time that we couldn't have together. I think Ali, Matt, and Nicole have already provided a pretty good description of some of his best qualities that we all love through their memories of him. So let me share some things that you may not know about him yet. Hans was the type of partner who would proudly stand up after a dinner date at a restaurant and say it loudly enough so the people in the next table could hear. All right, let's pay for this one. As if he was paying for me. And he was confidently to pay the bill using our shared account. Oh, audacity. His favourite line on his CV would be his attention to detail. Even though we both agreed it probably wasn't his best trait. We would always have some good banter about this when he needed to practice the interviews. But I don't know, maybe his colleagues from Mercy Health could settle this one. He would intently look out for me when we were overseas, because I'm a very scammable person when men display my emotions. But he was also a scammer himself, trying to barter with all-time low offers, but they ended up not wanting to sell him anything. And after COVID, in Bali, after the lockdowns with already cheap prices, that's pretty bad. But our man did love a good deal. When we had guests over, he would clean the house from top to bottom. He would frantically clean even for last-minute spontaneous family dinners at our house. Nicole can vouch for this one. You'd often see him through the front door mopping the floors vigorously and in a panic before he got in. These are just a few small and unique traits that Hans had. I could talk about it all day. These are what made him Hans, and these are the things that have made me miss him intensely and painfully over the last month, and I'm sure for the rest of my life. If Hans was sitting here with us today, he'd have that cheeky smile on his face, nodding quietly, and flicking his nose like this, as he normally would, feeling very proud of himself because of all the compliments that we've just given him. At the moment, I feel as though some of my limbs have been removed. For many of us, losing him has probably been the most challenging thing we've been through. I know that it will probably be the hardest thing I'll ever have to go through. But I hope that my memories of him, especially of his really awful jokes that were secretly really funny, will continue to keep me going one day. There will come a point where I'll be able to look back at our memories together and truly smile. Until then, I would love for you all to share your memories of Hans with me. It provides me with a lot of comfort to know that there are others out there thinking of and grieving for this man who has become a tremendously huge loss to the universe. I'd like to share this poem that really sums up how I'd like to keep Hans's memory and presence alive. We will not say the name too much or show the same picture of them too often. If they were alive, you'd speak of them without pause. You'd share memories, new and old. Why should it be any different in death? Our baby won't have the opportunity to meet her dad. And experience firsthand what a truly wonderful person he was and forever will be. And no matter how painful and unjustifiable that is.
she will know so much about him. Through me and through you, there are stories and memories of him. So when you do think of him, even for a split second, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and share your thoughts, no matter how much time has passed. Thank you.
Family and friends, many of you have witnessed Hans's incredible courage and dignity over the last few difficult years. His strength throughout his battle is something that will never be forgotten. And above it all, Hans will be remembered for his gentle and loving nature. To Jill and Hans's families, I'd like to say to you that I'm sure I speak on behalf of everyone here today, your closest family and friends, that their love and support will be with you in the years to come. We all hope that you can reach out and seek that support when you most need it, which in a way is what Jill has done today in the words she has said. And how eloquently did all of our speakers speak about Hans. What a beautiful community you all have. You should be very proud of that. And on a day like this, he does bring a community together. Hans's presence will be deeply missed by many at this time, and we invite acceptance into our hearts, however difficult that may seem in this moment. May you all find richness and example in your memories of Hans. May you find strength and support in your love for one another. And may you all find peace in your hearts. To end the ceremony today, we will watch the tribute video we've put together. You can watch this later again on Hans's permanent memorial website, which you've probably all seen. That will be there later today for you to watch again. After this, you're invited to stay for a drink and a bite and to share your idea and pop them into the box so that she can read them later and keep those as a keepsake. So once again, thank you everyone for being here today.
Here I am, looking down on you from heaven. It's so peaceful, it's so free, like you pray. It is warm, it's so bright and so beautiful. All my fears and my pain have gone away. And
The other night, dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamed I held you in my arms. When I awoke, dear, I was mistaken. So I hung my head and cried. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. I'll always love you and make you happy. If you will only say the same. If you leave me and love another, you'll regret it all someday. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. My sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Please don't take my sunshine away. No, please don't take my sunshine away.